welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you are new. Hello. I talk about books and writing, and since it is the first of the month, we are doing another trope talk, and this month I am looking at forced proximity. So we're going to talk about what it is, how it works, and my kind of unusual opinions on it. So, starting out, what is forced proximity? It is when you are forcing your romantic leads to spend time together, whether they want to or not. And with forced proximity, it's usually that they kind of don't, but you know. Here's the thing, I actually don't view it as a trope. I know, it's kind of wild because I'm doing it for a trope talk. However, I think there are tropes that are basically forced proximity in a hat and coat. So, you know, the thing is, I don't think it's a trope. I see it as a necessity because, here's the thing. If you are not forcing your characters to spend time together, your story falls apart. There is no story. Because here's the thing. If you've got, say, friends to lovers, they'll carry on blithely being friends to lovers unless you force them to spend a little bit more time together. Other side of the coin, enemies to lovers. Well, if you don't force them two to spend time together, they aren't going to spend time together. You've got to force the issue. Otherwise, they're never going to start to get on, let alone become lovers. They're going to go through the whole book avoiding each other, and then your romance kind of falls apart. You know, even strangers to lovers, you're kind of having to push them to spend time together. Maybe not quite as in an extreme way necessarily, but it's still there. So here's the thing. What tropes do fall under forced proximity? I mean, there's only one bed, feels like a really obvious one. You're forcing them into the space of a double bed. It's not a lot of room. Great for friends to lovers because you're forcing them into, you know, push into that little bit more intimacy than they've ever had. And, you know, sparks fly. Then you've got, say, colleagues. Now, two people that don't like each other, that have to work for the same company, in the same office, maybe even having to, like, travel together for work, suddenly they are forced to spend way more time than they want to. It is a forced proximity. You have found a reason to force them to spend time together. I mean, heck, look at Gloves Off by Stephanie Archer. You've got the forced proximity of they work for the same ice hockey team and they are in a marriage of convenience. So they are living under the same roof, having to go out together and, to all intents and purposes, convince the world that they are a happily married couple. These are elements of forced proximity. They are being forced to spend time together they ordinarily wouldn't. Because they don't want to. And over time, of course, they do end up falling in love. So, yeah, I mean, heck, even small town to a degree could be seen as forcing proximity because in a small town, you are likely to bump into each other a lot. I mean, you look at, say, pretty much any of the Dream Harbour books. I mean, they were all set in a small town. It's very difficult to not bump into each other. You just kind of do because you're going into town for coffee. There's one coffee shop. You're going to bump into them. Statistically, it's likely. You know, it's town meeting. You're putting them all together. They're gonna bump into each other. You kind of struggle to not have them bump into each other in a small town. But, you know, again, it is still quite easy to avoid each other. I have lived in a village. I could not see people for ages because that's just village life. So here's the thing. Forced proximity, to get back onto the point, is important because it is what forces characters at the end of the day to take that extra step, to go from being friends to being lovers, to being enemies to being lovers, from being strangers to being lovers. If you do not force them to spend time together, what have you got? Because it doesn't matter what the reason is. Heck, you can lock them in a lift for an hour and it's forced proximity. I mean, it's not much for a novel, but, you know, it's still forcing proximity. It's just a question of scale. And here's the thing. You know, friends, you don't need to push it that much because they are already choosing to spend time together. Heck, they're friends. They're going to spend time together. But if they don't know each other very well, or what they know they don't like, you're having to up the ante a bit and you're having to push the forced proximity to something a bit more extreme, like, say, being stuck in a lift. I don't know why I'm stuck in a lift, but here we are. I've thankfully never been stuck in a lift and I don't want to be. Being stuck on the underground is bad enough. So here's the thing. Yeah, some stories do need it more than others. And yeah, it's a thing, like I've said it before about stuff, mileage may vary. So that's all I've got for you today. So, do you agree with me? Do you think forced proximity is less of a trope and more of a necessity that has tropes that shoot off of it? Do you have a favourite, like, forced proximity trope? I would love to know in the comments below. Do leave me a comment. I absolutely love it when I get them. I don't get very many, but they absolutely make my day when I do. If you enjoyed this video, do give me a like, and yeah, if you want to see more of me, do subscribe as well, because it massively helps out my tiny little channel, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye!